You have to learn the truth about your identity, which is deeper than your personality. And you have to learn the truth about your purpose and your destiny. And then you work at aligning yourself into that. Tasha Eurich was the psychologist, and she's the one who did the study published in Harvard Business Review. She found that 95% of people consider themselves to be self-aware, but only 10 to 15% of them truly are. As long as we're distracted by and preoccupied with having our basic needs met, we're never going to be able to tap into the ascended life, the life of self-mastery, the life of becoming who we were put here to be and accomplishing what we were put here to do. A trigger is ultimately an invitation for greater healing and freedom. Anytime that we're getting triggered by anything, it literally has nothing to do with what's going on outside of us and everything to do with the meaning that we're attaching to what's going on inside of us. They do decades of therapy and they're like, well, I have a hard time trusting because of these things that happened. Like the self-awareness is more of like a justification of dysfunction. That's like a counterfeit form of discipline. Discipline comes from the Greek word disciple, and it's to teach. And so to discipline yourself is really just to teach yourself. It's to learn to lead yourself in love. So one is very focused on the end goal and the end result and pushing myself to get there. And the other one is more about the process and engaging the process of genuinely becoming instead of forcing. Hey, I just want to give you a heads up that in this episode, we do talk about sexual abuse and physical responses to triggers. So be prepared. And if you choose not to listen to this episode, we completely understand. We'll catch you on the next one. But here we are.
We're here.
Take 5,000.
Episode 5. You know what's so ironic is 5 is symbolic of grace. And I don't feel like there's been a whole lot of grace on this episode.
I literally had a dream last night where I was talking to a woman named Grace. God, we need it.
This has been a challenging episode to get to, but here we are. Let's just go. So, hi.
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 How are we?
How are we? We are here. We're all three together. It's the first time that the three of us are together in
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yep, because we had Mariah here last week. We had Beth here the week before. So welcome back, both of you. How does it feel to be here reunited?
Oh, so good. I missed you, girl.
Missed you too. Feels good.
Good. Okay, well, I think we should just jump in.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys a question. And I know, Mariah, you might have to bounce off because our recording session got pushed back with all the technical difficulties. So you're probably going to have to go back to mom duties. So we'll start with you just in case. What is one thing that you believed to be true about yourself that you then realized was not true?
One thing I believed about myself was that I was an anxious person because it was with me for so long and I experienced it so heavily that I just thought it was a part of me. And now I rarely experience it. And when I do experience it, I know I can like easily identify what's maybe stirring it up in me.
Yeah. That's good. So you thought that was just like your personality, that you were just an anxious person and that you were going to have to be anxious. Like that was just going to be the way that you lived your life.
Yeah, totally. And on top of that, I've heard other people to describe it as a personality. Like it is, I think, amongst society romanticized and made into like a personality trait. So thought it was normal.
Yep. Yeah. I'm working with a client right now and she's been diagnosed with anxiety disorder and basically has been told by like therapists and everybody that she's worked with that she's just going to live with it and it's going to be a part of her for the rest of her life. And just needs to learn how to manage it. And she said that I was the first person that ever told her that she didn't actually have to live anxious for the rest of her life. She's like, no one's ever told me that before. I'm like, well,
wow.
Yeah.
You're
That must have been so relieving.
Right? Yeah. Beth?
Yeah, I think for me, I used to think that I was really shy and I think it started off as social anxiety, and then I felt really insecure and self-conscious about that, so I romanticized it in my head to become more okay with it. So then I just label myself as really shy, in which I'm not a shy person. And I had to have this moment of like, okay, before this season, years leading up to it, I was never shy. I've never had a problem talking with new people. Something must have happened from here between then and now. And so then I just had to go through this whole thing of like, I romanticized shyness to be like a wallflower and how like cute that is or whatever. But then having to take a step back and be like, well, that's not actually me. When I am living from that place, I don't feel like myself. So there's a misalignment happening. So yeah, I'm not a shy person. I
When you
was.
said, when I'm living from that place, I don't feel like myself, I want to lean into that for a minute, because how did you come to know what your true self felt like in order for you to even recognize that you didn't feel like yourself when you were showing up that way?
No, that's such a good question. I don't know how to describe it besides just like this deep sense of knowing. Like it almost like in those moments where I'd be in a social situation and I was like really reserved and quiet and not talking, I felt disconnected from myself. It was like this pull of like, oh, I want to talk to you. I know I have something to bring to this conversation. I would, and that's what it was. It'd be like a mental moment of like, I have stuff that I can add to this conversation right now, but I'm pulling myself back. And it was like this anxious like pull from who I know deep down my soul is, but then this like wall of protection, which really isn't protecting anything. If anything, it's just hurting yourself more. So it's just this deep gut, like internal battle, if you will. It's like the best way I can describe it.
Did that ability come on the other end of you growing in your own self-awareness? Like, I know, for example, in the Living Beautifully program, like a lot of the work that we do, once you get like halfway through the process, we start learning what our center feels like. You guys remember that language? Like
Yeah.
when you're really connected to your heart, when you're like centered, when you're grounded, like we start to embody that more, and so we become more familiar with what it feels like when we're really connected to our authentic self.
Yeah.
And then we get to carry that awareness into moments where we start feeling disconnected from our authentic self. And in that process, then we have the tools to recognize, okay, what pulled me off center? How did I get off center here?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm feeling insecure about what people might be thinking about me, or maybe I have these unrealistic expectations of myself to show up a certain way, or there's always like a bunch of different reasons, or one big reason why we get off centered within ourselves and we stop showing up in an authentic way. But I know for myself, all I knew was an off centered life for so long. I didn't know what it felt like to be really centered and to be
Yeah.
connected to my authentic self. But the more that I grew in my ability to spend time with myself and like discover how to connect with my authentic, true inner essence, the more than I was able to become aware in different situations when I was disconnecting from that in some way.
Yeah.
And then the work was in figuring out why I disconnected so that I
Yeah.
wouldn't disconnect in the future. So
Yeah.
would you agree, for you to catch yourself as like, I'm not being myself right now, in order for you to even be able to do that, it's because you had started learning what yourself actually even felt like?
Right. Yeah. And I think a good way to describe that even is like, feel like when you're walking in the full embodied, or more so than you have been, in the person that God handcrafted you to be, and walking, like when you start to become familiar with what that alignment feels like,
That's good.
there's like a confidence built up, and not like a cocky kind of confidence, but like just a self inner confidence and peace and like a sense of life and joy that comes in a moment. It can be the smallest moment. It can be walking down the street and just looking at the sky and be like, how beautiful, like, and just feeling your heart feel so much life. It's that moment. And being able to compare it to the contrast of not feeling that. And when I'm not walking in myself and I'm allowing this like self protection that's actually harmful, when I'm allowing that to rule, I remember getting into such a deep depression. And so feeling like both ends of the scale, if you will. And so having the contrast of those small, tiny moments, and trust me, they are tiny. Like back in the day, they were tiny, they were fleeting. And I'd want to like catch, like hang on to that feeling and chase it as much as I could because I knew it would drift a little bit. But being able to have those small glimpses of like, oh, this is what it feels like to be me. I feel the life that comes with it. That definitely helped me to know what that was and what that feeling was.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Can you relate to that, Mariah, as well?
Yes, 100%. I was going to say, I feel super inspired. Like when I'm connected to myself, I feel way more inspired. Like I'll be able to do like flow into who God made me to be and like the creative aspect of me to like create and have that inspiration to create. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful on this topic, really quick. How beautiful it is to learn to trust what your internal self is telling you. Like for the last week, I haven't been doing the things that I know I need for myself to stay centered in myself and in the Lord. I haven't been like prioritizing that. And then I find myself feeling this really big disconnect from myself again and from the Lord too. And so getting to listen to that and getting to learn that and recognize I'm not walking in what I know myself as a person needs. I'm not walking in that confidence of knowing what I need and loving myself well and what I need and feeling that disconnect. So being able to learn what it all comes into the same conversation of like knowing yourself, knowing who you are, being confident in that, and being able to feel when you're not walking in that. You just gotta like retrack yourself a little bit. And there's no shame in it. For a minute there, I was feeling a little bit of shame, but I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm only human. It's okay. We just get to go right back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So today, actually, what I want to talk about is self-awareness.
Ah, look at that.
Self-awareness. Self-awareness is something I'm super passionate about. I feel like I say I'm super passionate about a lot of things, but they're all under the same umbrella. They're all essential in learning how to live beautifully. So ultimately I'm passionate about living beautifully, but all these little micro passions that I have help you live beautifully. Live like Bethany said so beautifully, in alignment with who you were designed to become, which is very much a heart-centered posture in living. I know for myself, when I'm out of alignment, when I'm off center, I feel a disconnect from myself, almost like I'm thinking about what I'm doing, or I'm thinking about what I'm saying, or I'm thinking about how I might be perceived, instead of just being in my body and being present.
Yeah.
And being like, I'm almost overly aware of myself. Whereas like when I'm really centered, I'm aware of myself, like I'm connected to myself, but I'm aware of what's going on around me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And I can relate to you with the inspiration thing, Mariah, because when I'm feeling really centered and connected to my heart,
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm living my most authentic self, I'm very creative. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel that creative inspiration all around me, even if it's just in cooking a meal or rearranging things in the house, or there's a playfulness, there's a creativity, there's a sense of awe and wonder, like Bethany was talking about, where like the clouds in the sky look majestic, and or like
Yeah.
I'm like really attuned to the sounds of nature around me, and I'm just connected to the beauty, and I'm very like connected at a sensual level, not a sexual level, a sensual level, right? My feelings, the sounds, the smells, the senses. I'm connected at a sensual level to the life that I'm living, and even to the people that I'm in relationship with. I can see them with gentler eyes. I have more compassion in my heart towards them. Whereas when I'm disconnected, I can become more critical and judgmental, and I put really high expectations on myself and on others, and I pull out of my heart and get really into my head, and I lose the joy, I lose the peace, I lose the hope, I lose the faith, I lose it all. And that's normally me telling on me that I've gotten off center somewhere. And then I have to do the work of going, okay, where did this start? Because sometimes we catch ourselves and it's been a few days, so you're like, it's a slow fade. It starts with one little thing. And if you don't learn to catch it quickly, it can completely derail you. But then also the practice of catching and resetting in and of itself helps you learn to catch yourself a lot quicker. So even there's times where things will happen that normally would have sent me off in the past. And in the moment, I can feel like the cup come up. And then because I've developed the skills, I don't want to call it coping mechanisms, because we don't want to be living a life that we have to cope from. There's a difference between coping mechanisms and skills, right? But we develop the skills to learn how to handle those things when they come up so that they don't derail us. They don't check us out of our heart. We don't go into self-protection, self-preservation mode. It requires a high level of self-awareness to be able to do that work. In the majority of people in America, and this is not Tanya's personal opinion, this is actually a study that was done by a psychologist, that 95% of Americans believe that they are self-aware, and only 10 to 15% of the population is.
That's a scary percentage. 95%.
I think also because people don't really know what self-awareness means. Like, they think because maybe that they know where they're standing in a room that they're self-aware. Maybe.
Yeah. Or they do decades of therapy and they're like, well, I have a hard time trusting because of these things that happened. Like, the self-awareness is more of like a justification of dysfunction.
No, I feel like it's a big justification thing.
And that goes back to that original question that I asked, which was like, what did you used to believe about yourself to be true, that as you became healthier and more connected or more aligned with God's truth about who you are, you realized was not true? I think a lot of people own dysfunction as personality.
Yes.
Again, I think it's really romanticized.
In episode 4, Mariah and I talked about how the personality is seated in the soul. The personality functions from the soul realm, but identity is in the spirit. And so a lot of us are functioning from a place of personality, but it's actually from a place of woundedness. A lot of our personality is shaped through cultural dysfunction in the families we were raised in, right? This is just the way things were done. This is how we navigated conflict. This is how we walked through hard times. This is how we communicated with each other. This is how we handled emotions. And so it's the family culture that shaped our personality, or trauma, grief that never got processed, that informs our personality. And so that's why I say the soul is the house of the personality, but we can be functioning in senses of self in our own personality that is completely out of alignment with who we truly are in our identity. And that is spiritual work. But we have to learn how to work through and develop the self-awareness in order to be able to tap into that truth. So that's what I want to talk about today. Tasha Eurich was the psychologist, and she's the one who did the study published in Harvard Business Review. She found that 95% of people consider themselves to be self-aware, but only 10 to 15% of them truly are. And so what I think happens is, we all have natural blind spots. You're driving in a car, you can see it in front of you, you can see in your rear view mirror, you have your side mirrors, but there's always the blind spot, right? And you have to like lean. You drive and you're aware, like, I have a blind spot, so I can't fully trust on my mirrors. I have to lean in to look and make sure that I see what's going on in my blind spot. But we all naturally have blind spots. There are things about myself that I am not aware of. There are things about you that you are not aware of.
Yeah.
So part of the lack of awareness is because we naturally, as human beings, all have blind spots. Another reason is that we tend to lean towards having a more positive self-perception.
Yeah.
We like to think a little more highly of ourselves, right? And we see that this is a perfect example. If you do something, you can justify it because it's about the intention. Well, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to forget. I had all these, here's all my justifications as to why this is not that big of a deal. But if somebody else does that same exact thing, we turn it into a character assassination,
Yeah.
right? Some of us are harder on ourselves than others, but we tend to, as a human population, lean towards a more positive perception of ourselves than is necessarily true. And then the other thing, and this is huge in our culture right now, is that there is an overall lack of feedback. There is an overall lack of challenging that we're opening ourselves up to. We don't want to be told what we don't want to hear. And we see this in the cancel culture.
Right.
So if you trigger me, you're out. If you offend me, you're out.
Yeah.
And so because we have zero tolerance for the self-reflection, for the personal accountability, for looking at ourselves and going, oof, that really hurt, but maybe there's some truth to it. We go, oh, that really hurt. You're wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a tendency to blame and even cut out, or maybe we don't physically cut these people out of our lives. Maybe we can't, maybe they're family, but we will create distance between us and them to where we're not spending as much time. We're not sharing as much of ourselves with them because you've offended me, you trigger me. And we live in this culture where it's like, I don't want to be triggered. I don't want to be offended. Tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is one of the biggest reasons why we are living in this delusion that we are better than we are in better condition than we actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to add to that?
I guess I have a question. How do you think that society has developed into that? I mean, or has it always been that way? Because, I mean, I've heard people talk about how sensitive this generation has become. And so, like, nobody's giving each other that feedback and everybody is super offended. But, like, how did we get here?
Do we feel like technology, social media, phones has a big part to play in that? I can't help but think it does, because even think about cancel culture. That's a new thing. That wasn't a thing when I was growing up, when I was
Yeah.
younger. It
Sure.
wasn't until cell phones, social media got in the mix. And it almost feels like people have to tiptoe around who they are, what they believe, whatever, to prevent cancel culture. And I think even in social media, the amount of like weight and value that's put on like a follower, even that itself has become such a deep internal experience where it's like, oh, someone unfollowed me, I'm like hurt. And it's like, it's not that deep. It's just social media. It's never had to be that deep. But I think technology has put a huge part in how we just don't want to be rejected.
Do you think, based off of what Beth is saying, it's also because nobody actually knows each other, you know, like based off of us only connecting on the internet, nobody's actually connecting. And so it's all like surface level stuff. Like nobody's actually knows each other enough to even give like feedback. Because if somebody cancels you, but it's just a random person on the internet and you're getting offended over that, I'm gonna spiral out. Never mind. I'm gonna spiral out into so many different thoughts. But anyways, yeah, just that's what it made me think of.
Well, yes, I agree with you, Bethany. I think social media is a huge influencer in culture right now and how humans are relating with one another. Younger generations have very low social relationship skills developed because of it. And then to speak into what you suggested, Mariah, I do think that there's some wisdom in that because I mean, think about it for yourself. If you have somebody that doesn't know you at all that comes into your life and starts giving you advice on a situation that they really have no understanding of at all, but they think they know what the right thing for you to do is, and so they start giving you advice or they start giving you feedback. It's very hard to take that advice or to take that feedback because there's a part of you that's like, but you don't really know all the facts. Like you're trying to speak into a situation that you don't know anything about.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is a measure of wisdom in not just letting anybody speak into your life. You're not going to go to somebody who's filed bankruptcy 10 times and is still in a ton of debt, and you're not going to go to them for financial advisement.
Yeah.
You're going
Right.
to go to somebody who has learned how to manage their finances in a really good way, and you're going to ask them for advisement.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
If I'm having car issues, I'm taking my car to a mechanic. I'm not taking my car to somebody who creates guitars.
Right.
Right. So like there is that measure of, depending on what you're seeking guidance or feedback on, you want to be selective about who you go to. But the problem is that we're not even living known enough. We're not engaging in these soul bearing relationships enough to where we're allowing ourselves to be known, to where we can actually receive the feedback that we need.
Right.
Oftentimes, most people are living from a place of image consciousness. They're very concerned about what people think about them.
Yeah.
And so they're very focused on projecting a certain image, which again is probably influenced by social media in some ways. And then I think part of that is just human pride, our instinct to survive. We learn in childhood who we think we need to be to maintain connection, and we keep playing that narrative out until we realize that pattern and interrupt it and reconnect with our true selves. But the fact is, we absolutely need people giving feedback in our lives. We absolutely need people that we're allowing ourselves to be known by enough to where they can come in and speak into our lives and challenge us and confront us because they love us. This whole, I could go down this path. This whole idea of like being someone's ally means I never challenge or question you is very dangerous. Because if you really do love somebody and you see them about to walk off a cliff, you're going to do everything you can to stop them from walking off that cliff. If you really love someone and you see that they're going to go stick their finger in a socket, you're going to do everything you can to try to stop them from sticking that finger in the socket. So this idea that we have that if I love you, I never challenge you, I never confront you, I never question you, I never make you uncomfortable. This is a total false understanding of love. It's not love at all. What it actually is an extremely dysfunctional form of codependency. And we end up enabling people's dysfunctions instead of what love does is call them higher, call them into healing.
Yeah. That's good.
Did I hear a cat?
My gosh, it's my cat. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's cute. I like it. We can keep that in there. That's super cute. So, we've talked about this before, how this is for the weary women and how a lot of women are living from a position of autopilot or survival mode. And so I have a couple of stats to share with you. 64% of adults live the same routine every day. Every day is the same. It's Groundhog's Day. Are you guys too young to know that movie?
I love that
I don't
movie.
think I've ever watched it.
Mariah knows. Okay. Every day is Groundhog's Day. You get up and you do the same thing in the same way. You think the same thing in the same way. You handle the same thing in the same way. And you just keep living the same day over and over and over and over and over again for the course of your life. When hard things come up, you handle the hard thing in the same way. When good things happen, you celebrate them in the same way. But it's just autopilot. It's repetitive. 64% of the population is living that way.
Wow.
Beth's like cringing over there.
Yeah, the worst here.
I see it. 45% of women admit to forgetting things when they're on autopilot. Can you guys relate to that? I can. You become very forgetful because you're not being mindful. You're not present. You're just go, 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 go. So it's when you're in autopilot or living in survival mode, you lose things a lot. Like a lot of people will say, oh, I'm just a really forgetful person. No, you're not. You're just living on autopilot. You're not a forgetful person. Oh, I'm just clumsy. I break things all the time. No, you're not. You're not a clumsy person who breaks things all the time. You're just on autopilot. You're not being mindful and fully present and embodied in the life that you're living.
Yeah.
There's these labels that we live under and we own them. And it's like my identity. and we speak them over ourselves and we reinforce it. And the truth is no, you're none of those things. You're just on autopilot. One last statistic, 39% of women admit to entering into autopilot when they're at home. So with their kids. 39% of women are just on autopilot trying to get the kids bathed and fed and the chores done and da, 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 da. And so 39% of mothers and wives admit to feeling like they're showing up in autopilot mode, and also share that there is guilt that they feel in that because they feel like it's negatively impacting the culture that they're creating in their home. But when a woman feels like she's drowning and she's just trying to get through every day, she's doing the best she can, but she's feeling crappy about it and she's feeling crappy about herself, we're here to tell you there's another way.
What's the way?
So there's 4 levels of consciousness. There's the subconscious. What's the subconscious?
I use that word all the time. I should know.
Thoughts?
It's like it's like what you're thinking unaware.
Yeah, it's like the back burner.
Yeah, the subconscious is like even your breathing. That's a subconscious operation. You don't have to consciously think about breathing. You don't have to consciously think about walking. You don't have to consciously think about digesting your food. So there's the biology of your subconscious programming that your body is operating in a way automatically and you don't need to think about it. But then also at a soul level, the subconscious is where a lot of our beliefs are held. So like, again, so for example, the conscious is where we're aware, we're present, we're making decisions, we're reasoning, we're using our logic. We can know things in our conscious mind, but if our subconscious belief system is in opposition of what we know, then we won't live out what we know because we will always live out what we believe. Mm-hmm. So the subconscious actually has huge influence in how we live our lives. And the subconscious is where experiences are stored. Like every experience you've ever been through, you don't consciously have that at the forefront of your mind, but it's in there. And you might go somewhere and it might bring up one of those memories that was lost a long time ago. And you're like, oh, I've been here before. Or you might smell something that reminds you, like it pulls things out of your subconscious and it brings it into your conscious awareness. The subconscious drives a lot of our lives, but there's even this part below the subconscious called the unconscious. Mm-hmm. The unconscious is even deeper than the subconscious, and this is basically the place where memories go to hide. Mm-hmm. So people who, like for myself, I went through really traumatic experience when I was 4 years old, and the way that the body operates, the way that the soul operates, I blocked that trauma out completely. I had no conscious memory of that trauma. Now my body remembered and you could see the symptoms of it showing up in my life, but I didn't have a cognitive memory of what happened. And this happens a lot. In fact, 40% of women who are sexually abused as children don't have a conscious memory of it. Mm-hmm. Because it's too intense. You have to disassociate from what's happening to you. And so you disassociate, and that disassociated part of you gets buried into the unconscious part of your being. Mm-hmm. It's meant to help us survive. Paradigms are formed in the unconscious place of our souls. And so the paradigm is like your worldview. Mm-hmm. So if you go through something super traumatic and you don't get help and you don't get healing, and it gets buried into this unconscious part of your being, the place where memories go to hide, it's in you and it's shaping your worldview. And you start believing, maybe you're a victim of sexual abuse, and you start believing that men are not safe. You start believing that your body is not safe. I was just talking to somebody a couple of days ago. She had been molested as a little girl, and the perpetrator would tell her, like, this is what you do to me. I just can't control myself around her, and was like putting it on this 8-year-old little girl. Like, you're just so sexy. I can't control myself around you. And in her own way of processing it, it felt like really empowering, like, whoa, look at this power that I have over this person. And so she ended up in every relationship in her adult years until she finally got help and healing. She would feel this false sense of power and being able to push a man beyond his limit. So she was the cause of a lot of adulterous affairs, and she just thought this was just how she was. But it wasn't until she went back and started exploring her subconscious and unconscious beliefs and paradigms that she realized, no, this isn't who I am. This is a result of something that I've been through. So the majority of how we're showing up and living our life is because of the influence of the unconscious and the subconscious part of ourselves.
Yeah.
But then there's this fourth level of consciousness. This is the highest level of consciousness. And it's the superconscious. And the superconscious is the space where we're living super connected to our higher power, so super connected to God. This is the place of intuition. This is the seat of deep wisdom, where or some might call it like a spiritual revelation. Like it's a deep understanding that is beyond my own scope of understanding. When we tap into that superconscious state of living, that's when life starts to feel invigorating. That's when life starts to feel really fulfilling. That's when life starts to become creative and we become more solution oriented, and we start to tap into the wisdom and resources of a realm above ourselves. So it's basically like your spirit, your superconscious is that spiritual connection that you have. So those are the 4 different realms of consciousness. We are meant to thrive when we're connected to our superconscious. But in order to get there, we have to do the work of cleaning up and healing what's going on in the unconscious and even the subconscious. And the unconscious, how do you remember a memory that you've hidden? Well, I can tell you that the body keeps score. So even though I still to this day don't have a conscious memory of the abuse that I went through, there were so many physical symptoms and soul symptoms that validated what I had gone through and what I sensed I had gone through and what the Holy Spirit told me I had gone through. He didn't have to give me the memory of it to heal it. So you don't have to remember the details of what you've gone through to be able to go in and heal those things within you. But if you have something that you've gone through and you see the symptoms of your life of it, that's evidence enough.
Yeah. Wow, that's not talked about, really. Like,
what?
I feel like what you're saying, because I feel like people may think that just because they don't have the memory that it didn't happen. Or like maybe if they're talking to other people and they're like, oh, well, and I've experienced this too, where I have those like very, very vague memories or senses of like what happened, but then I'm like trying to recall it and I can't. And so it almost doesn't seem tangible, but like what you're saying, so good. It's like a whole new can of worms.
Yeah.
I think for the listener, because I'm familiar with like the body keeps score, some people may have not read the book, some people might not be familiar with it. I think it's important to go into like, okay, what does that mean? Like when the body keeps score and something like a feeling comes up, what does that mean? Or like how to pay attention to that. An example of that is like 3 years ago around May, I experienced a lot of grief, a lot of loss. In family and transitions and moving. And so then even every year around that time frame or around that month, I get really like heavy, sad, like weary, a lot of it. And there's nothing in the physical realm to be causing that. And so it's like, okay, don't go into like what's wrong with me. Maybe take a moment to say what could have happened around this time frame at any point in my life that my body might be remembering and that I get to pay attention to and like give the attention to and love and learn from. That's a really quick summary. Just pay attention to what is coming up in your heart and your body and your being when there's nothing from the physical realm that should be causing some kind of emotion like you're feeling.
Yeah. Your body remembers. So this is another example. Like I had a lot of anxiety around going to the gynecologist as a young adult. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go have like my first pap smear. And I have thoughts about that too now. But back then, you're just told to do certain things. So I had so much anxiety around it. I didn't know why. It was all around the time in my life where it was starting to surface. And I ended up asking a friend to come with me. I had so much anxiety. My stomach was in knots. I was literally having a panic attack the morning of my pap smear appointment. That's not normal, right? Like your average woman is not having a freaking anxiety attack before she has to go get her haha checked. So I'm saying that. I don't know why I'm saying haha. I never call it a haha, but it's a podcast. So I don't know. When I go to do that and they go to, insert the thing, I literally start screaming at the doctor, get it out of me, get it out of me. Big old tears running down my face. And that was a red flag. I was like, hold on, what does my body remember here? Like my body is getting triggered. Something beyond this moment right now, my body is having a visceral reaction to something that's getting triggered that my consciousness doesn't remember, but my body does. So that's another example of how trauma can affect the body. You talked about grief and seasons of heaviness. That's why when I do my coaching program, my preference is always to walk with a woman for at least a full year. It's because of this anniversary grief and anniversary trauma. Like you can be functioning just fine and pay attention to this, because for me, it was the month of October. The month of October was always a really heavy, terrible month, always. It's not anymore because we're in October right now, and it's great because I've done the work. So you don't have to constantly live with the anniversary stuff. But sometimes you might notice these patterns in your life where like every May is just a bad month. May is just a bad month. Okay, well, why? Like what might have happened in your life in May, decades ago even, that has reinforced this pattern of May being a terrible month? Because ultimately what's happening is the fact that May is a terrible month is your subconscious and your body's way of inviting you into healing and freedom. It's like resurfacing stuff that you haven't dealt with in the hopes that you'll be able to work through it, process it, release it, and then and then be able to live beyond it. So things just keep coming up because we haven't worked through them yet.
Yeah.
So we don't have to live under, every May is just a bad month.
Yeah.
Okay, get curious about it.
Right.
Why? What is it about that time of the year
Yeah.
that makes it painful, that makes it easier for you to get upset, where you fall into a dark mindset, like maybe a depression, even seasonal depression? Some people are like, oh, it's seasonal depression, and they just accept it.
Yeah.
Seasonal depression is a cultural norm. Okay, but maybe like ask what happened around that time of year? What happened around the holidays that was painful for you, that you haven't processed through, that you haven't worked through and released? Because you don't have to have seasonal depression. That does not have to be your future. That does not have to be your life. Your life does not have to be limited by that. We are actually invited to live a limitless life, not a life plagued by limitations. And then there were two.
Mariah.
Where did you go? Mariah?
Big boy called and she had to go.
Mom duty.
Love that for her.
Mom duty. Little baby Benny needs mom. And Benny always comes first, as he should.
Oh,
Jinx, you owe me a
Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper.
Do you get to choose whatever you owe?
I don't know. I think we should.
I like that rule. We talked about the 4 levels of consciousness: our subconscious, our unconscious, our conscious state, and then our superconscious state, and how like ultimately the goal is that we're learning how to live connected to that superconscious state, which does require mindfulness. It does require intentionality. It requires practice. And there is a measure of needing to go into the subconscious. And when symptoms come up that might be related to that unconscious part of ourselves where the memories go to hide, that we like do the work to heal and restore those things. Because like I said, your paradigm is your worldview, and that is really influenced by what's going on in your unconscious and your subconscious part of yourself. So a lot of how we're showing up in life, we think it's all our free will, but your will is only as free as you are free. Your will is only as free as you are healthy. And so if you really want to be operating from a place of free will, sovereignty, and empowerment, like you have to do the work of getting healthy, whole, and free.
Yeah, that's so good. Hmm.
There's this thing called behavioral inertia, and it basically is just this psychological concept that humans are creatures of habit. And we will almost always naturally choose what is comfortable and what is easy and what demands the least amount of effort.
Yeah.
And so, in order to aspire towards that higher level conscious living, it requires that you make an immense amount of effort to fight against the behavioral inertia, our predisposed human bend towards what's comfortable, effortless, and easy.
Hmm. Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable and it's interruptive. It interrupts us. It's a lot easier to cancel out of your life everything that triggers you or makes you uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
than to sit with yourself and understand, what is it about what's happening right now that's making me so uncomfortable? What is my part in this? What part of my paradigm do I have to shift?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable at first, but I think we can probably both speak from this. But the more you learn that it's actually leading towards your own personal freedom and release, it's actually, I'm at a point now where I'm not excited, but like I'm excited when that comes up because it's an opportunity to learn more about yourself. So
Exactly.
for the listener who it's uncomfortable to do that,
Yeah.
just know that as you do it, it'll become a process that you enjoy because in the process you're getting to know yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to ask yourself, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, how comfortable and easy is life really?
Yeah.
When we're living in autopilot, when we're living in survival mode, when we're in a constant state of stress, when we're feeling overwhelmed or stretched thin, when we feel like we can't get ahead of things, when we're easily triggered, when we're easily offended, when we're upset about things, like when we're having broken relationships or disconnected relationships, like how comfortable and easy is life really? It's a delusion. It's delusional to think that that's comfort and that that's ease.
Right.
So there's two different kinds of pain. There's a pain that creates destruction, and there's a pain that creates healing.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are settling for the pain that is destructive in their lives because it's more familiar to them and they feel more control over it than
Yeah.
stepping into the unknown and the unfamiliar and choosing to engage the pain that is required for healing.
Right. I feel like the pain that is self destructive is a pain that comes from instant gratification.
Mm,
So think about it. When you're talking, I'm thinking of like an injury from like a sport or something. Say you hurt your ankle, but you want to get back on the court. You want to start balling again. So you do it, even though you know you're not supposed to be on your ankle for this long, but you do it anyways. And in the long run, you hurt yourself more, which takes you out of the game for an even longer amount of time.
yeah, no, that's so good. When we get triggered, like you learn this in Living Beautifully Journey, a trigger is ultimately an invitation for greater healing and freedom.
Right.
Anytime that we're getting triggered by anything, it literally has nothing to do with what's going on outside of us and everything to do with the meaning that we're attaching to what's going on inside of us. And that meaning is connected to our belief system and our paradigm. So the work is not in controlling the external circumstances or people that are triggering us. The work is in figuring out what got bent within us, what meaning have we attached to what we're experiencing that is creating this inflammation in our souls, that is creating this very maybe visceral physical reaction to what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
But when we want that quick fix and we want ease, it's just easier to go, oh, you trigger me and I'm going to make you feel bad about it, or I'm going to take it out on you, or I'm going to cut you out of my life, than going, oh, I am getting triggered. What is coming up in me that I can work on And we don't talk about how triggers are an invitation for healing and freedom.
Right.
You don't actually have to live with those triggers. You don't have to own those triggers. They're not a part of your personality. They're just a part of your wounded self, and you can heal your wounded self. I was going to go into Maslow's hierarchy of needs and talk about the body and the soul and the spirit and how we have different needs, but I might save that for another day for the sake of time and just do like a really brief overarching highlight on the fact that according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if our most basic needs for food, water, shelter, safety, security are not met, then we're never able to elevate to the higher level of like what he calls self-actualization. So again, that's connected to that super conscious state of living, right? It's this very like elevated above the limitations of the natural plane, connected to the spiritual realm, connected to the source of life, tapped into divine wisdom, and living from a higher level of consciousness, living above things and not in them or below them. A lot of people feel like they're under life, they're just drowning. But the only way that we can truly feel fulfilled in life is when we start learning how to live that ascended life, that self ascension or that self mastery, which is I'm connected to my source and I'm in alignment with who I was created to be. And I'm living with the purpose of fulfilling what I was put here and destined to accomplish. A lot of people are living their lives focused on their basic needs being met. They're focused on, we don't have enough money.
Right.
We don't have enough. It's that lack, that scarcity mindset. And that lack or scarcity mindset is the very thing that robs us from the abundance that is available to us when we tap into the spirit realm, which is the joy and the peace and the hope. And that every day we have exactly what we need. We might not have millions of dollars in the bank. We might not have a secure 401k, but for today, everything that we have, we have everything we need and more, and that we can trust that with God, we will always have everything that we need and more. We don't actually need all of this false security that culture tells us that we need when our security is truly anchored into the source of our life and our sustainer.
No, it's so good because it's so easy to just focus on the future or focus on what you don't have versus, well, I do live in abundance right now. I have food to eat. I have clothes to wear. I have a shelter. I have a roof over my head. I have everything I need for today. And I'm only in today. There's no point in even focusing on tomorrow. That hit me deep. I'm like, oof, this is good.
It's vital. It's vital if you want to live that spiritual life. It's vital if you want to live the abundant life. It's vital if you want to live the beautiful life, is to lift your eyes up above the delusion, the deception of lack and scarcity, divorce yourself from the cultural pressures to grasp for more because you never know when you could lose it all. And like truly anchor yourself into, plug yourself into the source of life, who is your ultimate provider and sustainer, and our security is found in him. Like there's no amount of financial resources that will ever give you a sense of security, because you're at a spiritual level. Your spirit knows that security actually comes from God, not from manna. Manna is like a term used to describe money or material provisions. That's why you have people who have so much but still need more, because it's never enough, right? So as long as we're distracted by and preoccupied with having our basic needs met, and we're looking to have those basic needs met in the material world, we're never going to be able to tap into the ascended life, the life of self-mastery, the life of becoming who we were put here to be and accomplishing what we were put here to do. So we might be busy and we might be doing a lot of things and we might be accomplishing a lot even, and we might have a lot of money and we might have a lot of fame and we might have all those things. But as we see in culture, none of those things are fulfilling. None of those things actually satisfy us, because the only way to live a fulfilling, satisfactory life is when we start tapping into that self-mastery or that self-ascension. So I wanted to talk about, because, we can't really do an episode without at least bringing in one scripture and unpacking it.
What are we doing?
Because your girl loves the word. We love the word here, right? Can you look up Titus 3:5? And then can you read that? And then I want to unpack 3 of the words in that verse.
He saved us, not because of righteous things that we had done, but because of his mercy. He saved us through the washing of rebirth and renewal by the Holy Spirit.
Okay. So some translations, where it says the washing of rebirth, it talks about he saved us through regeneration and the renewal of the Holy Spirit. He saved us through regeneration and the renewal of the Holy Spirit. So I want to focus on the word saved, regeneration, and renewal.
Yeah.
Saved. We already talked about this. In episode 4, when we talk about soul care, we talk about the lies that Christians believe about salvation and how it keeps us wounded. It keeps us broken. It keeps us from the freedom that Jesus has made available to us. So if you already listened to this, it's a repetition. You're welcome. And if you missed that episode, you don't want to miss that episode, go back and watch that episode. But for today, I'm going to tell you that in this specific verse of Titus 3:5, the word saved in Greek is the word sozo. And the word sozo means a restoration to wholeness, healing, and well-being. So Jesus is not saying, I saved you from hell for heaven. He's saying you've been saved. And what salvation means is your soul has been restored. You have been made healthy and you are living in a state of well-being. That's what saved means in that verse. The next word is regeneration. In Greek, palin, which I'm probably saying these Greek words wrong, but that's okay. And palin means again. And then Genesis means birth, beginning, or origin. So in what you read, it was born again. That's an accurate translation of the original word. And basically, it's starting over. It's a complete new beginning. We talked about this also, I think, in episode 4, where we come to when we become Christians, it's not a religion that we start practicing all these rituals. Like, we're literally called to become born again, which means we have to relearn how to live life. The other thing that I wrote here is it's restoration to original intent. It's a complete new beginning, the whole self, spirit, soul, and body being born again into alignment with God's original intent. This regeneration is a one-time event. It happens one time. But renewal cannot begin to happen unless regeneration occurs first.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
we're born again once.
Yeah.
But we're born again to engage the process of renewal. So that Greek word renewal, it basically means like to be made new, to be refreshed, to renew quality, to be made of a new kind. So it's a process of renovation, transformation, or making new again. This is an ongoing daily process.
Yeah.
So this whole behavioral inertia of just coasting through life, living on autopilot, being stuck in survival mode, like this is robbing you of life.
Right.
And if we want to live above and beyond that, we have to learn how to engage the process of renewal. Regeneration is 100% up to God. We can't do that ourselves. We cannot be born again unless He moves in our lives and we respond to the invitation and we become like children and we accept what Jesus did for us and we accept and we receive the Holy Spirit and we become regenerated. We become born again. It's like a whole reboot. We've been rebooted. But then after that, we are responsible for engaging the process of renewal.
Yeah.
Spirit, soul, and body.
Yeah.
And so in order to cooperate with the Holy Spirit in the ongoing renewal of our being, it demands that we develop self-awareness. See how it's coming back full circle now?
Full circle.
Oh, full circle. It demands that we develop self-awareness. I can't be blinded by a delusion that I'm in better condition than I'm actually in. I can't be blinded by the deception that this is just how it is. And then someday it will be better because I'll be in heaven.
Yeah.
I can't own personality traits that are out of alignment with what God says is true about me.
Yeah.
Something I hear so much, and I used to say this myself because it's mass consciousness. It's what we think, right? But we hear people say a lot, I'm just not a patient person. I used to say that all the time, like, oh, like it's a personality flaw. Like I'm just not a patient person. That's just not the way that I am. I'm not a patient person. And one day the Holy Spirit really convicted me. This was like 9 years ago, and the Holy Spirit super convicted me. And he said, Tanya, love is patient. And if you want to get good at loving well, you need to develop patience.
Yeah. I think that's key. You have to develop patience, and it's uncomfortable. It's not easy, but you develop it. It's a hard virtue to learn, but you develop it.
It's a practice. It's a practice. So
and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice.
It's a daily practice, and it confronts it. If you're really going to go after developing peace in your life, it will demand that you confront the things within you that are robbing you from being a person of peace.
Yeah.
If I'm going after developing patience, I'm going to have to confront the things inside of me that cause me to be impatient.
I feel like that's not hard, but like that is a big one for us to learn when we recognize that things aren't in our control. Because I feel like with learning patience, you have to let go of your control. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. So there is this element of learning how to self-confront that is required. And we like to use the language here of compassionate inquiry because the first person I ever heard use that term was Dr. Gabor Mate. And he's like one of my favorite voices and thought leaders when it comes to being trauma informed. And he uses that language all the time about learning how to compassionately inquire when things are coming up. So it's not judging it and shaming it and trying to force it to be something other than it is. It's going, oh, there's this part of me that's coming up. I'm having a reaction to something. I don't know why I get so angry with my kids, or I don't know why I shut down around this person, or I don't know why I feel the pressure to be perfect at work, and instead of shitting on myself or judging myself for it or trying to force something different in behavioral modification, it's engaging it really gently with this posture of compassionate inquiry. Like, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah. No,
where did that come from? Where did I learn this? What do I get from it? What does it cost me? How can I gently shift this pattern of behavior so that it becomes more in alignment with what is true?
Right.
So there's 7 levels of self-awareness. And I want to end with this. I use this as a gauge in my life because I'm not fully self-aware in every realm of my life. There are some areas of my life that I have really put a lot of intentional effort in developing. And then there are some areas of my life that I have not yet put that level of intention in developing because you're only human and you can only tackle so much at one time. Right. So I can be like at a high level of self-awareness, maybe emotionally, but there's other areas of my life where I'm at a middle range of awareness. I haven't fully developed myself. I haven't fully mastered that part of myself yet. And so the self-awareness journey is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
But when you know the 7 levels of self-awareness, you can use that as a framework to better understand yourself and where you're at with things. But I will say, oftentimes it really does start with the soul work. It starts with your mind. Like you have to grow that inner self-awareness of how you're thinking and how you're feeling and how you're processing that, and learn how to check in with yourself. Because when you've got that locked in, it influences it influences your relationships, your marriage, your parenting, your work, your serving, your everything, how you are as a friend, how you manage your time. I mean, it influences everything else in your life. So any questions before we move on?
No, I'm curious about the 7.
Or reflections?
I'm just soaking this all in.
Are you?
Learning so much, yeah. I'm ready for the 7.
Okay. The lowest level of self-awareness is called animalistic or reactive. So when you hear animalistic or reactive, what do you think about?
Kind of like ballistic, going off the walls, big reactions, big responses.
very primal,
Yes.
very, very primal, very reactive. This is where you get into fight, flight, freeze, appease, fawn. The nervous system kicks in and just hijacks and takes over. So that's the lowest level of self-awareness. So even just think about like when you're in an argument with somebody and you get super triggered and this primal side of you kicks in and you're like, where did that even come from? And sometimes we can be mortified. When I was engaged to my first husband, and if you missed my story, episode 1, I share my story there, and we got into an argument and I was 27, 28 years old. And I grabbed his keys and I ran down the hall to my apartment and I ran into the bathroom and I put his keys in the top drawer and I closed the top drawer and I spun around and I blocked the top drawer from him. Like I was not going to let him leave me.
Okay.
28 years old doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
28 years old, acting like a 4-year-old who had major abandonment issues.
Yeah.
Right. So we can shame it or we can go later on in life. I mean, I felt it was mortifying. It was like embarrassing. We feel so bad about some of the things that we do, but there's no reason to feel bad about it. We're doing it for a reason.
Right.
I got triggered. And in that triggered state, I wasn't operating as my healthy, mature self. That really wounded part of me that hadn't gotten healing, that wounded 4-year-old little girl that had major abandonment issues. She kicked in and took over and tried to protect me. She was trying to help. She wasn't helping.
Really hard.
She was trying really hard. But that's that animalistic, primal, reactive, low level self as the lowest level of self-awareness. But you know what, girl? Some people are living there. Probably nobody listening to this episode, but there are people and they are living at that lowest level of self-awareness. The second level of self-awareness is mass consciousness. So this is where you conform to social norms and you have that mass mindset. We've touched on that a little bit in this episode already, right? This is where you just think like, oh, well, this is just normal. It's just normal to be burnt out. It's just normal to have a disconnected marriage. It's normal to be married and not have sex. It's normal to be frustrated as a parent. It's normal to live on autopilot. This is even like in subcultures, right? Like for Christians, right? I'm saved for heaven and we just live like totally dysfunctional now, but it's okay because someday we'll be in heaven and we won't be dysfunctional anymore. We believe what the masses believe and we don't really challenge or question or confront it. We don't try to go, what feels more truthful, because we just accept whatever the mass consciousness accepts. That's level 2.
Okay.
A lot of people are living there.
Yeah.
Level 3, aspiration. This is where you start to recognize that there's a need for change. You want to change. You have the desire for change, but you don't take any action.
Okay.
You might buy the book, but you don't read it.
Yeah.
You might go to the gym this is me. I'll go to the gym, I'll work out for like 2 weeks and then I'll stop and I'll go back to my old patterns, right? I'm aspiring to, like, I recognize I want change in a certain area, but I'm not really committed to it. I'm not being consistent in it. I have the desire, but there's no action. Okay. Level 3. Level 4 self-awareness. So we're going up, we're getting higher, is called individual. This is where you begin to discover yourself as an individual. You start thinking for yourself. You start connecting with your emotional self. You start understanding your true personality and beyond how life has informed you to be. You start really connecting with what is true, the true essence within you. Your more authentic self. You start owning your own uniqueness. You start to become more comfortable with your own thoughts and your feelings and your desires and your strengths and your weaknesses and your triggers. And you start to get curious about those things. An example of this is I'll have clients come in and they'll say, well, everybody thinks this way. At the beginning of a journey, like we think how we think is how everybody thinks. That's a mass consciousness level, right? Whereas once you get to that individual level, you go, this is how I think. This is how I process this. So Shiloh, my dog, was barking because the doorbell rang. So we're back and she might be trying to calm herself down. And so you might hear her, but for the sake of time, we're just going to keep rolling. And I apologize that you're going to hear my dog barking. She will stop. Okay, so number 4 was individual. Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, number 5 is called discipline. But discipline means something different than we tend to think. Discipline, like we tend to think discipline is like driving yourself to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to force myself to do this because I know it's good for me. That's like a counterfeit form of discipline. True discipline, and we've talked about this before, discipline comes from the Greek word disciple, and it's to teach. And so to discipline yourself is really just to teach yourself. It's to learn to lead yourself in love. There's a difference between me forcing myself to do something because it's good for me and me learning how to do something well because it's good for me and because I love myself. And so one is very focused on the end goal and the end result and pushing myself to get there. And the other one is more about the process and engaging the process of genuinely becoming instead of forcing.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. The 6th level is embodiment. So once we've acknowledged we're learning our own selves, we're practicing engaging with our own self, you know, the discipline element, we're like teaching ourselves to lead ourselves really well. Eventually, once you keep integrating something, you begin to embody a new normal. This is always fun in the living beautifully journey where these things that we're just practicing all of a sudden become our new normal. And so the ways that we used to react to something completely changes. And like you talked about this, I think in the first or second episode about how like you were going through a growth marking moment where there were some things happening in your life and normally it would have caused a very different response from you, but it was showing you how far you'd come and how far you'd grown, right? So that's like an embodiment. Like you start embodying, you start just becoming what you've been practicing. And then the highest level of self-awareness is mastery. So you've put in the practice, you've put in the reps, you've embodied it, and now you don't even, it is your new normal. You've like redefined your behavioral inertia, like you've leveled it up. This can be dangerous sometimes because we can almost get to this new comfort zone. We don't like discomfort, so we'll get out of the discomfort and we're good, and we create this new comfort zone, but then that comfort zone was never meant to be our final destination. It was just meant to be like the next level. That can cause a lot of stagnancy in people's journeys towards self-ascension or self-mastery, or that transcendental life where we're transcending all of the limitations and we're living into the fullness of who God created us to be. So any thoughts on the 7 levels of self-awareness before we land the plane and share a few things that we can do to help us develop self-awareness in our lives?
No thoughts necessarily. You did a great job describing every one of them.
Thanks. How do you develop self-awareness? It, first of all, is a lifelong journey. It's literally a way of life. It requires intentionality. It requires mindfulness. So that's always the place to start, is just becoming more intentional and developing mindfulness skills. Because when you are living in autopilot, when you are living in survival mode, you are not living intentionally and you are not living mindfully. So even just learning how to become more mindful in your life, how to become more present, how to become more intentional, how to become less judgmental, how to become more accepting and trusting and curious. That's number 1. I would say that's like a really important place to start. The other thing is practice daily check-ins. So we've talked about this before. The goal is to live a life you don't have to check out from. But the only way for you to be able to do that is if you get really good at checking in with yourself. And you can practice your daily check-ins. When you put in the reps, when you practice checking in with yourself, at first it's really awkward and you might not even know how to do it. In Living Beautifully, I have my clients sit with themselves for like 20 minutes a day at least. And there's a lot of guided self-reflection prompts that you guys go through with different specific focuses. But in that process, you really learn how to engage a more active form of self-reflection. So it's not just like thinking about the same thing in the same way day after day, but you're learning how to ask yourself really good questions. You have to self-reflect in order to grow self-awareness. You cannot grow self-awareness apart from the practice of self-reflection.
Yeah.
But eventually you get so practiced in self-reflection, and you grow in your self-awareness so much that you don't have to sit down and journal every time something comes up, because you can catch yourself in the moment. you can work through it in the moment. But it definitely always starts with journaling and learning how to engage journaling in a way that moves you forward and doesn't keep you stuck. Anything else that you want to add to that?
My go-to is journaling for sure. And I've tried to, not force, but like I've tried to encourage other people to do that. And some people just don't do well with journaling. So I think finding what works for you to be able to check in with yourself, whether that's going on a walk and like leaving your phone at home, checking in yourself internally or whatever, I think that's important too.
But I also want to add to that most people don't do well with journaling because they don't know how to journal.
Okay.
I know this because almost every woman that comes to me says, I don't like journaling. 90%, 80 to 90% of women I work with at the beginning say, I don't like to journal.
Yeah.
And then because of the guided journal prompts, because they learn how to ask themselves questions, the distorted thinking log is a huge one. What were the distorted thought? What did you think? What were the distortions? How's a different way to think about it? What you're responsible for? What are you not responsible for? What are you going to do about it? Like that's a very empowered, forward focused way of self-reflecting and journaling. So I think people don't know how to journal because to them, it's just regurgitating the mess that they feel that they have inside of them. And then they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
It can almost feel disempowering and it can reflect back to them the things in their life that they're not happy with and they're dissatisfied in.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying learning how to journal. But journaling, I think, is imperative because when you put it out on paper, it creates distance between you and it. And it gives you that space to reflect, to see what's going on inside of me and how can I shift it? What's a different way to think about this? Yeah. So I think journaling is for everybody. I've seen so many people that came in hating journaling that by the end of it, were like, I'm going to be journaling for the rest of my life. I love journaling now.
Yeah.
And then the last two things that you want to incorporate into your life, and obviously this is not an all-inclusive list, but the last 2 points that I put on here for today is one, you really want to invite people into your life who are going to challenge you. You want people who are going to ask you the hard questions, who are going to make you think about things in a way that you would not naturally think about them yourself, who are going to hold you accountable when you're not holding yourself accountable. You want challengers in your life. You want people who are willing to call out your blind spots. And you want people who are able to do this in a really safe and loving way.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have to get to know the truth about who your creator made you to be.
Yeah.
And what your creator put you on this planet to do. So you have to learn the truth about your identity, which is deeper than your personality. And you have to learn the truth about your purpose and your destiny. And then you work at aligning yourself into that, getting into alignment with that. Those are some of the things that I would advise you to do. And hopefully this will be a good resource to help you with that. Maybe if you join us in the holding space, that will be a great community for you to plug into as well, along with a lot of other Living Beautifully offers that we have. They're all there to support you in your journey of living beautifully. So that's it. This was a hard one. This was a doozy.
This is a doozy.
And I have a client call in 8 minutes. So we're going to wrap up real quick today.
Really quick. If you guys have any questions about the process on how to check in, whatever, go ahead and message us. Beautiful is a Lifestyle on Instagram. We'd love to chat. We'd love to connect. We're open. So you just let us know.
I would love to connect with you. And if you can't see me right now, I have my hand in heart shapes around my eye. And I'm moving the heart closer to the camera and then pulling it back to my eye. And I'm saying that I would love to connect with you right now. Okay, that was my little dose of quirk for you today.
I love it. It's a good way to end it. All right.
Gotta keep it quirky.
We love you.
Yes, please send us your questions. And if you have specific topics that you would want us to do episodes on, like if you have specific questions that you've heard things come up in past episodes and you want to know more about that and you want us to go deeper into that, then find us on Instagram or TikTok or all of the, the website, send us an email, however you prefer to get in touch with us, leave us a comment and let us know, because we're here to serve you and we want to help you and we want to create things that are really going to benefit you in your journey. So thanks for being with us again this week. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.